Hey guys, Chickadee Maine, aka Deboo, with a forecast video update. This forecast video update effective around 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, September 19th, 2022. And okay, we always like to start our videos off by thanking longtime followers and welcoming new ones by letting you know that we are primarily a surf and marine forecaster covering the North Atlantic waters, looking for weather patterns and or systems that produce high seas and or high surf. You can't have high surf without high seas. Lots to talk about in today's video's update, so let's get right to it. We now have Hurricane Fiona. If you guys have been following along with us on our social feeds, Hurricane Fiona is now back over open water as of the 11 a.m. update and is slowly beginning to intensify and is forecast to become a major hurricane by 8 a.m. Wednesday morning, according to the current National Hurricane Center forecast track map. Front runner Swell from Fiona is now reaching East Coast beaches this morning. Swell is up on all of the buoys. Now, if you are a non-surfer or a non-mariner and you're simply tuning in because you have concerns about whether or not Fiona is going to impact the United States, there is less than 1% probability that that is going to happen. This is the National Hurricane Center 3-day forecast track map with the center line on. And as you can see here down at the bottom, here she is right here. The center is just off the coast of the Dominican Republic, and she started her northern turn and northern lift, and should start the northern turn by Wednesday. Now this is going to end up being a major swell event. So if you have no interest in surf or marine, there may not be any point for you to follow this video any longer, except for towards the end of the video, we may get into talking about what may be the next named system, which would be Gaston, and the feature that may bring Gaston to us is already showing up in the satellite imagery. Gonna switch you over to the latest out of the National Hurricane Center's Tropical Analysis Forecast Branch wind wave forecast. Now this is 24 hours, and we see that Hurricane Fiona is on the coast of the Dominican Republic and going to be starting her move towards the north. Seas are forecast to increase in the next 24 hours up to 30 feet, and in 48 hours increase to 37 feet. In 72 hours, increase to 44 feet, and in 96 hours, now this is out of NOAA's Ocean Prediction Center, this image is in meters, showing 17 meters, that's excess 55 feet, guys, inside of 96 hours, Hurricane Fiona, a major hurricane, forecast, 105 knots, gust to 130. Okay, gonna switch you over to this afternoon's run of the 12Z GFS. This is hot off the press, guys. This model run just came out. Switch you over to the Swell forecast now. Now, this is minus 12 hours. So that front runner Swell that you see that's on the beach now, for all you guys that are surfing, this is the front runner Swell that developed when Fiona was out here east of the island. So this is first pulse swell, and then as we advance the model for you, you'll see that works its way into the beach, and then here in about 24 hours, you'll watch the explosion right here off the eastern tip of Cuba, right there by the Turks and Caicos, and you'll see that the swell, big one, setting up for south-facing beaches all the way from the Outer Banks all the way up into New England, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland. Advance the model for you a little bit more, and then that's when you start to see the background swell. Okay, so Fiona is up in here probably towards Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, and that's long period swell west, southwest swell heading up in here towards the North Atlantic, but you see the turnaround swell. And a lot of times when you guys see me, I'll always link to turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit nervous when I see you coming round, right? All right, so advance the model a little bit more for you. and then look at that long period swell heading for the northeast Atlantic, 18 to 20 plus seconds. And mind you, this system is going to produce seas in excess of 55 feet. Major swell event is about to unfold in real time. Now, it's not a long-lasting swell producer for us in the southwest Atlantic waters, but it is a major swell event. Right now we are in a buoy watch, and so in the next 24 to 48 hours we're going to be able to see the indicator buoys light up. Follow us on our social feeds for real-time updates on the buoys. Now I'm going to switch over to this afternoon's run. This is 12Z GFS. Actually, hold up a second. Let me back up a second. Listen, I take what I do seriously. It involves life, limb, and property. I want to switch you over to the satellite image that I used on September 13th in my current pinned tweet, giving the benchmark location of where I thought the storm was going to end up. Okay? September 13th. This is, when we look at this other map, is going to be tomorrow. So that means that I'm going to be 7 days out front from a benchmark pinned location. Now, in all fairness, I had the system coming over the top of Puerto Rico and in here to the Turks and Caicos Islands in here, just right in here, right? And so, although going over the top of Puerto Rico did not verify, what we've seen with the system is that it's had a more west and southwest tracking trend, okay? And it went up underneath Puerto Rico. Let me take you over to this forecast map here. This is where Fiona is down here at the bottom. The blue shaded area that you see here is the cone of uncertainty. When you look at the satellite image of my pinned tweet, that was going to end up being verifying 7 days out front, which is not my record. My record is 13 or 12 or 13 with Hurricane Florence, pinning an almost exact location where a landfall was going to occur. And so when we look at this map here, Turks and Caicos, although I am out of the cone of uncertainty, I'm pretty doggone close. If I had my own cone of uncertainty, I would have been well within it, especially when you take a closer look at where I have the benchmark, which is just north of Haiti. And you go back to the image here, I'll slide it over for you. Just to the north of Haiti, right in here is where my benchmark pinned tweet is. I wasn't that far off, and there still is time with that west trend that Fiona has. I still have time to actually possibly hit this as an exact mark. All right, going to switch you over to the GFS. This afternoon's run of the GFS, and you're going to have to bear with me now here a second. Let me switch it over. Here's what I'm looking for. Guys, by the way, all of this information, except for the experience, is available at tropicaltidbits.com. Tropicaltidbits.com is where I typically go to. I don't give enough credit to Levi and his site, but thank you, Levi, for providing us with tropicaltidbits.com so that we can all enjoy the information. All right, give me a second here. I'm probably going to have to adjust my camera here just a second. I'm going to rotate it over a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to switch over to satellite imagery. All right, so that was actually a sneak peek right there. Let me back this up because that was not Fiona. Now you see Fiona coming back into the picture. Okay, and so there's Fiona on the Dominican Republic. I'll advance the model for you again for those that are concerned about a U.S. landfall or impact. There is none, or at least less than 1%. But as we advance the model, look there in the Eastern Caribbean. Now this feature is already showing in the satellite imagery. It's right in here. We'll show it to you here in just a minute. But as we advance the model, As this system gets into the Caribbean Sea, look what happens. Now, if you followed us on our call on Fiona, you know that when we saw it enter the Caribbean Sea, we put out a post that said, any takers on Fiona becoming a hurricane before it gets to the Bahamas, which at the time, the National Hurricane Center showed it becoming a hurricane near the southern Bahamas and not in the Caribbean Sea. Guess what? Verified. Hurricane in the Caribbean Sea passing through Mona Passage. I'll advance the model a little bit more for you now. This is inside 10 days, guys. Okay, and we're approaching that time of year. By the way, there's Fiona extratropical as a 948 moving in to Newfoundland, just to the east of Nova Scotia. Advance the model some more for you, and looks like we have Gaston inside 5 days now. I would imagine at the 2 p.m. update, the National Hurricane Center will highlight that area based on this run of the GFS. We'll have to wait and see on that. Advance the model some more for you. And this, if you followed us or been a long time follower, you know that there's two common patterns that are known to produce tropical cyclones that we talk about. One is fork in the road. That's when a northern extension of a westward moving tropical wave can split off the main wave axis and get north of Puerto Rico with a chance of development. That's the idea of it, as the main body of the wave continues to carry on through the Caribbean Sea. Fiona is a fork in the road type pattern. The other pattern is called round the corner. Now, although this is not a textbook round the corner, it does end up in the Gulf of Honduras, which is a key factor in this. And one of the things that we talk about early in the season, right around probably March and April, is the Gulf of Honduras, or this region, is typically the first place to warm up, right? One of the key signals that we look for the warm-up early in the year is the first 100-degree days for the western part of Cuba. So the Gulf of Honduras, typically from a ocean sea surface temperature standpoint, is typically the first place to start to warm up. But guess what? It's typically the last to cool. And what you see here is a 935 millibar hurricane, major hurricane. I wouldn't take intensity at the moment at the word there, but so throw intensity out for the moment, but it's showing a hurricane in the Gulf of Honduras. And anytime you get a strong system like this in the Gulf of Honduras, and you can see that it's basically attached to the tail end of the front, it means problems for anybody that's above. Because if the system goes up into the Gulf of Mexico, we know one thing: it's not turning around and going towards the south. It's either going to go west, north, northeast. Climatology tells you for the month of October, up and to the right. And if we advance the model a little bit more, now mind you, this is one model run, okay? Lots of time to watch. And I'm not going to go any further past there. And let me check the date on that right there to make sure that. So that's 240. Without looking, I stopped it right there at 240. That's 10 days. And you guys know I like to stay in a 10-day window. And although I shared on social media a little earlier this same feature that the model is showing over Florida, guys, this is going to be one to probably we're all going to need to pay attention to. And all of that talk about slow hurricane season, the forecast bust, all of that bullcrap, if this right here is to verify, this is going to prove to everyone it doesn't matter how many, it only takes one. That's all I got for you for now. Stay tuned for the next update.